And then the second issue here about the election is the fear about what Each-Way Albo does if he gets in charge. Standing up to China matters. Now, I know there's great pearl clutching at the moment. How dare you bring up this issue? It matters. Because a lot has changed in the past 10 years. A lot has changed in the past 3. Literally, you know what China has tried to do to our economy. Why? Because we wanted accountability for a virus that's killed millions of people and put 1 million people out of work. Thankfully, our ability to deal with it means that more than 1 million people are back in work. But it's not just Albo. As Andrew Bolt excellently detailed, a speech from 2019, the deputy leader of the Labor Party, Richard Marles, who said it was okay if the coal industry disappeared at the last election. Well, he, of course, has argued for closer political and military ties with China. Nothing to see here. This is at a time when, just last week, Biden's Secretary of State, his Foreign Affairs Minister, here in Australia said China aims to dominate the world. However, what does Albo say is the most important thing about the relationship between Australia and the United States? It ain't China. He says climate change. He didn't say that 10 years ago. He said that months ago when trying to make himself look good on all issues to do with climate. But that's what is his priority. He's telling you up front. His deputy is telling you up front what their plan is. Well, while he wants to talk about climate, this government's just done a deal with the UK. You'll read more about this in the morning, but they're going to be spending millions of dollars to improve cyber security, because that, of course, is the new front in the war that countries like China wish to wage. Remember, China hacked the blueprints of the ASIO headquarters in Canberra, let alone spies in universities, let alone attempts to get into CSIRO facilities at Lucas Heights and a whole lot more. You know it because it's the truth. And then, of course, there's the person who'd like to be in charge of our borders. Now, Kristina Keneally was so certain that Bill Shorten was going to win that this was the last image they put in front of the public before the last election. We're so cute, we can play with puppies. But the reality is that Kristina Keneally, not 10 years ago, but just a few months ago when she decided to go for a spot in the lower house, she met with the United Front Group. What is the United Front Group? Chinese propaganda. They believe that Taiwan is part of China. This photo is still on her Twitter feed. She has never apologised for this. And then we learned today that at the opening of a facility that was paid for by a man who is now no longer in the country, that Anthony Albanese, again, believed there should be closer ties with China. He even used a bit of Rudd speak to get there. In the video of the gala dinner, Mr. Albanese spoke in Mandarin, noting that deeper ties with China is in the national interest. I don't know why we don't have the grab. I had it and it was ready to go. But here is the Prime Minister responding to the reality of Each-Way Albo and China.
This job is all about strength, Mr. Speaker, and this is a very weak leader of the Labor Party.
That's the reality. It's also what Australians believe to be the case, because we can see with our own eyes what they've tried to do to our industries, what they've tried to do to our country, what they promise to do into the future to the Western countries like our own. But the great pearl clutching that's going on is that you can't talk about this. Of course, because it's good for the government, that might help them at the election, but apparently it's bad for the relationship that Australia might end up having with China. It might be a bad relationship with places like the United States. Well, here's what Australians actually think about China. 93% of them have a negative view about China because of their army in our region. 92% have an unfavourable view because of their system of government. 79% have a problem because of increased Chinese investment that happens in Australia. Again, third biggest reason. Pick what order you want to put them in, but these are the reasons why this election matters, and this election is a lot closer than anyone is going to admit. Because you know and I know where the real people of Australia are on issues like more power for the Greens.